Hello, this is Keith All and welcome back. Today's tutorial, we're going to learn how to build a step chart, or in other words, a progress chart in Excel 365. What you're seeing here is what we're going to be building from scratch. So basically, we have some tasks that we want to complete. And as we mark them off, you could see above the progress chart or step chart in Excel will update. And I'll explain to you why we have these two helper columns. And as you check them off, they turned from not /NA to a number one, and you'll see why that in a second. So you could see how this chart updates. And basically all this chart is a line chart with markers. So let's go over to the next tab and we're going to build this from scratch. So what we're going to be doing here, again, what I'm about to show you here is just how you could build a sequence of numbers, okay, in Excel. And there's three different ways I'm going to show you, but they're not necessary. This one column is necessary for the line chart. But for right now, one way you could create a sequence of numbers is you could use the sequence function, SEQ, and then the first argument is required. And what I want to do is I want to build a sequence of numbers from 1 to 15. And all I do is just pass in 15. And as you can see, it equals brings down a sequence of numbers incrementally by 1. That's what this sequence function does, because it defaults by the number. The first argument is for the number of rows you want to generate, and it defaults to whatever your number is. It steps it up by 1. So that's one way to do it. The second way to do it is by using the row function. And basically what the row function does is I'm just going to go to any cell, type in ROW, and what that does, it returns the row that you're entering this into. In other words, I'm entering this function into cell B4, which translates to row 4. So if I put this over here, equal ROW. It says returns the row number of the reference. Now I'm not passing in a reference at this time, but I will in a second. So in other words, I entered this in row 11, so that's why it returned 1. So basically that's what that does. So another way to add a sequence of numbers is I'm going to press an equal ROW. What this will do initially, it gets the current row of where I'm entering this formula. So this current row is row 12, and I'm going to subtract from it this ROW, and I'm going to pass it a absolute reference, which is this cell right above here, which is the row above it. So I'm going to press an absolute reference because I want to copy this down, close it out, and press enter. Now, why did we get 1 here? Because the first argument up here, let's highlight it. As you can see, the answer here is 12. Now, this other one right here, since I passed it a reference, meaning what is the row number of the reference that I'm passing the row function? I'm passing it a reference of B11, which returns 11. So 12 minus 11 equals 1. So now if I copy this formula down, as you can see, it builds out a sequence of numbers from 1 down to 15, and they're all incremented by 1. So let's go over here. This is row number 18. So this first part here will return 18. So 18 minus 11 equals 7. So that's how I get that. Another way you can build a sequence of numbers is press enter 1, control enter to stay in that cell. Now if I do this handle down here due to an autofill, it's only gonna pass down ones in that case. Control Z. If I drag this down here, as you can see, it stays at 1. So Excel doesn't recognize that you want a pattern to be built. However, Control Z, if you drag this little fill handle, the square little bracket, click on it and press the Control key at the same time, you can see it incrementing up by 1. So that's how you do that. Okay. So now let's get into the actual building of this step chart here. Let's delete all this. So my first step is I want to insert checkboxes here in this field. So I'm going to highlight my cells, go to insert, and then the checkbox here. Okay. And so if you don't know this already, this particular checkbox, if I click on it, watch the formula bar. If I click on it, it returns a value of true. If I uncheck it, it returns a value of false. So we're going to be using these values over here. So my helper column to build out this this step chart is I'm going to be passing it. I'm going to assign the number 1 for every single row here. And you'll see why that in a second once I insert a line chart. This other helper column, what I need to do is we're going to check to see whether or not this is equal to true or false. Remember, when I check it, it returns a true. If I uncheck it, it returns a false. So what I want to do is I want to use an if statement. If E12, which is this cell right here, I'm going to keep it relative, is equal to true. Okay, tab into it. I want this value to return as 1. Otherwise, I'm going to use the NA function. And you'll see why in a second why we do this. Okay, so now I'm going to copy this down here. Okay, now if I uncheck it, watch what happens to the is complete column. Okay, that's what I want. I want it to be return a 1. Okay, this will be important to understand once we build out the line chart. So now what I want to do is I want to insert a line chart, and I'm only gonna highlight these helper columns. Insert up here line, and what we want is this chart right here. Insert line with markers. Okay, let's go back up here. Let's adjust this. Let's scroll this over here. Make it a little bit bigger. Okay, now what you see here is you're going to have one line on top of each other. The reason is because one, all these values that you see here for the line color of incomplete, they're all 1s. What will happen if I change it to 5? Press enter. See what happens for one of the lines. What I want to do is I just want to have a complete straight line for all these tasks. So that's why I do 1 for all of them. Let's do that. Let's bring that back here. When you insert a line chart for these two values, what Excel automatically does is it automatically it recognizes the fact that we have all this data together, and it goes to the first column over here and puts this as the x-axis. That's why we have all these incremental numbers here. This refers to the step numbers in right here. So this, and the y-axis is going to be these values that you see here. Okay, now we actually have two lines here. The reason why you don't see the other one is because what happens is because all these values here for the second line, it returns an NA. Now what Excel does, if I put a 0 here or any other number, watch what happens. See, it plots it up here as 0 and it puts it at the 0 y-axis. Now what we want to do is we want to tell Excel if we have nothing in this cell, which NA returns, we don't want it to be actually displayed. So let's Control Z out of that. And let's go on to, let's go on to the next section here. So these lines, these two lines, like I said, share the same axis, which is the step number. And now I want to adjust these line colors here for both the is complete column and the line color. So if we come over here, is right now the line color actually for the incomplete is the light gray, and the is complete color is this darker blue. So as you can see here, we got two lines on top of each other because all these values are considered to be 1. So let's go back over here and let's start building this out. Now let's select the chart, okay? And an easy way to select the line that you want to work with is go up to the Format tab up here and all the way back over to the left where it says Chart Area, the current section. Let's select the line color complete, which now this column is only selected. This is the line that we want to adjust right now. So right now we want to format it. We could either press Control 1 right now, or again, if we go up to Format tab, come back over here and select Format Selection. Both ways are going to bring up this format your data series. So what we want to do is we want to select this icon, which is the fill in line, and we want a solid line, and we want it to be light gray, which is already selected. We want to increase the line width to 10. As you can see, it increased the line width to 10. Now it's more easily visible. Now what we want to do is, let's scroll back up here. We want to change the marker options. We want to build in option. We want the circle, and we want to increase the circle to size 30. And you can see what it does here. Okay. Now we want to create a solid fill for this, and we want it to be the matching color of the line, which is already is. And we also do not want a border around this. So if we unselect this, now we got this line appearing. If I check this, now what we want to do is we want to basically do the same thing for the is complete. So now let's go back up here. Let's go select the chart, go to Format, Chart Area, and now we want to select the series for the is complete. Okay, now that's selected. Now let's go over here, line. We want a solid line, and let's select a color here. Let's select this color. Again, we want to select it the same width. Tab over. We want to choose the marker. Marker options built in, circles already selected, size of 30. Tab out of there. You can see nothing is changing, but you'll see in a second because all these values right here for this line series are all an A, and Excel processes an A as a blank basically, so it doesn't plot that value up on the line here. Now let's go over here. We don't want a border. Okay, so let's close out of here. Now watch what happens when I check this off. Let's go back over here as I want to change this color. I didn't change the fill color of that. So let's go over here. This is complete. Okay, now control 1 is another way. Let's go back over here. And the fill color for the arc is solid, and I want it to be this blue color. Okay, as you can see, it changed, which is what we want. Okay, now if I select this one, you can see that it builds it out. Now the visible portion of the line is shown. So that's how you're changing the line colors for each particular line. And since both series values are 1, they appear to be on top of each other and they're all on the same line basically. So they're kind of overlapping each other. Okay, so now let's get the data labels on here, which are these values here. So let's go over here, and now let's add data labels to our chart. You could select the chart, go over to the right. This is just one way to do it. Add what we want to do is we want to add the data labels, which is here, and center them. And what it does is it takes the values of this right here and plots it as 1. But we don't want that. We want these values, the step numbers, to appear in these little markers here. So how do we do that? We do that by selecting the data labels of themselves. So let's click on the chart and data labels. Let's press Control 1. As you see over here to the right, it says Format Data Labels. What we want to do is we want to grab the value from the cells, which is this right here. So now we want to select the range that we want to grab the values for. So click this arrow. Let's do this. Select this range. Press OK. And as you can see, it brought them up. But now we want to eliminate these values here, the ones after each step number. So we do that by unchecking value here. And all we got now are the step numbers that appear above here. So that's how we do that. Now let's format them a bit. Let's go up to here. We want to increase the font size to, let's see, 18. Possibly we want them to be white and bold. So let's click outside the chart. And as you can see, it changes everything. Now we want to also select the data labels for the other line. So we also do that by selecting the chart. We want to select these data labels, if you could see them. And let's go over here to so basically you want to turn off the data labels for the is complete column. The way that you do that is, let's select this. As you can see, it selects all the data labels. Well, let's go over here to the right. This drop down here is, we want to make sure we're on the is complete one here. So right now, if I click on this chart elements, it's checked off. So that's what we want to make sure, that it's checked off. So let's go back over here, and let's something happened here. Let's go back over here. I want value from the cells. Select this again. Click OK. Uncheck that. Now that should be okay. Now let's double check. As you can see, now it checks everything off. So let's get rid of this legend here. Let's go over to the y-axis here, and let's change the options here. To format axis, we want the minimum to be 0, but we want the max to be 2 in this case. So it puts this in between each other. So that's what that is. Now we could go ahead and delete the y-axis here. And let's delete also the x-axis. We could type in a chart title, and then just say progress or whatever that you want. Okay, let's click out of here. So as you can see, everything updates for us. So if we uncheck a certain task or step, it unhighlights it, basically giving you a visual representation that it hasn't been completed. Of course, when you want to pass this around to your other teammates, you could obviously hide these two columns here, because these are just basically helper columns to help with building out this progress or step chart. So hopefully this gave you an idea how to work with line charts with markers, and how you could format it, everything, and how you could build like a progress chart or a step chart in Excel with your data. Thanks again for stopping by today. You have a great day. Remember to like and share this video, and also subscribe to my channel. And I'll have a link in the description for this particular file, exercise file, so you could download it. Bye now.